You're listening to Emerson Whitner's NXT Report on the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Emerson Whitner, and this is your NXT audio update for Wednesday, June 17th, 2015. I have said a lot of times in the past 6 weeks or so that there's been missable, skippable episodes of NXT. This week's episode, I will not be saying that for two very big reasons, and we'll get into that here as the show progresses. Last night's NXT, or tonight's NXT, depending on when you're listening to this, I believe it was the last show taped in the last set of tapings, but unlike in prior tapings where the last show, you can tell it's the last show because the crowd's usually dead for it. This one, for the most part, they were pretty hot. And they got a mostly good show for it. Twice during the show, weird thing here, twice during the show, they aired a commercial, during NXT, mind you, telling you that tonight Samoa Joe was challenging Kevin Owens for the title, and how unexpected it was that Joe would be challenging Owens. My thought is that they went face-to-face 2 weeks in a row, but how could you not expect them to challenge each other to a match? Anyway, the actual show opened with the awesome Dusty Rhodes tribute video that we've now seen a bunch of times. If you haven't already seen it, go to WWE's YouTube page, go to WWE.com. It's up there, I'm sure. It's on a whole bunch of different places. Just check it out. We at the Wrestling Outsiders podcast actually did a Dusty Rhodes tribute show last Friday night. If you want to go over there and listen to it right now at blogtalkradio.com/wrestlingoutsiders. We even reviewed Starrcade 85 last night. The first match was Enzo Amore calling Cassidy and Carmella versus the tag team champions Wesley Blake, Buddy Murphy, and Alexa Bliss. People still love Enzo and Cass and still hate Carmella. I know it's developmental and they gotta try new things to see what works and what doesn't work, but they really did turn the wrong girl. Now, Blake and Murphy, they did the unthinkable to get some cheap heat when they had their entrance before Colin could call them SAWFT soft. Gotta clear my throat now. Wesley Blake must be watching his old Impact tapes because much like his trainer Kip James / Billy Gunn used to do, Wesley Blake now is wrestling with his hair in pigtails. And it looks just as good on him as it did on Billy Gunn. I'll leave it at that. This match, it was in two halves. They did have a commercial break halfway through, and the first half is like they did absolutely nothing. Blake and Enzo were in the ring for the most part, and it was just a whole bunch of nada. Eventually it broke down into a six-way brawl, which got the match going, with the babyfaces clearing the heels out of the ring. They went to commercial, came back, and that's when they were getting the heat on Enzo and really took this match to another level. Eventually, Enzo made the hot tag. Now, did he make the hot tag to Colin? No. He made the hot tag to Carmella, and nobody reacted at all. No one. To make things worse, the announcers sat there and said that Carmella has been waiting to get her hands on Alexa since TakeOver, not mentioning that just 2 weeks ago they had a match. Eventually, Alexa got tired of fighting, so she tagged out to Blake. So Colin immediately ran in and single-handedly destroyed both of the tag team champions, and the good guys eventually won with the rocket launcher. Highlights from Cena and Owens and Money in the Bank were shown. Cena, as we all know, took the powerbomb on the ring apron and suffered bruising. Now, Sami Zayn, Alex Riley, Neville, and Solomon Crowe have all taken that move and have all been laid out for weeks and in some cases even months. But John Cena, our Superman, he got bruising. I guess at least they kept him off Raw, which I guess is better than it could have been, right? Then we had Samoa Joe cutting a promo backstage, saying that he prides himself on competing in places that are cutting edge, on fire, and on top of the world. Joe said that Kevin Owens likes to use intimidation to put fear into his opponents, but Joe will not be intimidated, and tonight he will beat down Kevin Owens unmercifully. Then we got the greatest video package in the history of WWE. They are building up to Finn Balor challenging for the title on July 4th, live on the WWE Network. And they are doing a two-part video, well, at least two parts. I don't know if there's going to be a third part, but a multi-part video documenting Finn Balor's career. And tonight they aired part one. And this was just an amazing video documenting the start of Finn's career. They showed all this unaired, never before seen footage from his WWE tryout even. They showed him wrestling in indie shows and high school gyms in Ireland. They showed him at Insane Championship Wrestling. They showed him wrestling in Revolution Pro. They interviewed Becky Lynch because Becky was trained by Finn, and Becky was crying because of how much Finn has changed her life. And they actually called Finn by his real name, Fergal Devitt, the entire time. And so for people who were watching and were confused, they weren't confused for very long as to who Fergal was that they kept talking about. And this was just an amazing, what, about 5 minutes, maybe 6 minutes? Just a really, really, really good video package. And I would go out of my way to go see it. And I hope everyone listening to the sound of my voice goes and watches it now. Hopefully by the time you're listening to me, hopefully WWE's already got it up on the YouTube page. If not, go subscribe to the network. It's free for new subscribers, or it's $9.99 a month. It's cheap, it's inexpensive. Go do it. We had a Wacky Divas match. Charlotte took on new NXT diva Cassidy. This match was, I'll say, bad. And I'll chalk this up as both girls having a bad night. They both hesitated on every single move they were doing there for most of the match. At different points, they both would stand there just a little too long, waiting for their opponent to do something. They did do some, very unique moves, but it was like, I'm assuming this is the first time they've ever wrestled, so in all honesty, they probably should have kept it simple, stupid, because the stuff that they did, everything was just a little off, and the match didn't fall apart or anything like that, but there was definitely it was definitely a disappointing match. You expect Charlotte to be a little bit better than this. Charlotte did submit her with the figure 8, and that was that. Dana Brooke was backstage and yelled at Devin Taylor for not addressing her as Miss Brooke. She said that she's been busy competing in the Arnold Classic, but is now back, and being back is bad for Charlotte. She mentioned that Charlotte only got to NXT because of who her daddy is, and so she promises to shove Charlotte back through the door that she walked in. We got the main event, Samoa Joe and Kevin Owens. Yep, main event already. It's a 43 or 50-minute show, somewhere around there, and they used 5 minutes for Dusty Rhodes video package, 5 minutes for a Finn Balor video package, and in between, not a whole lot of much. But we had Joe and Kevin Owens. It was actually a non-title match. I think I said earlier it was going to be a title match, but it wasn't. The match started. As soon as the bell rang, Kevin Owens just ducked out of the ring and stood on outside the ring, and Samoa Joe didn't even give him a chance to breathe. He jumped out of the ring and stared him down. And so Kevin got back in the ring. They locked up, fought into the corner, and when they broke, Owens shoved Joe in the face when they broke it up. And so Joe beat the living snot out of him and just punched away at him in the corner. Just really brutal. The announcers marked out for all of his moves. All of his moves. He was 3 for 3 on the outside. He was 3 for 3 on the inside. He was 3 for 3 on the outside. And so Joe beat the living snot out of him. And just punched away at him in the corner. Just really brutal. The announcers marked out for all of his moves. Imagine how badly they would have marked out 10 years ago when Joe was in much better shape. Joe did the face wash in the corner. I thought it was funny because Zack Ryder just did the same move last week. And, of course, Joe did it so much better, but no one mentioned that, thankfully. I know they had to edit the show a little bit because they had to put in the Dusty tribute at the beginning. So they had to take some minutes out of here and minutes out of there. But we go to commercial, and Joe's been on offense basically the entire match. And he looks just dominating. And when they come back from commercial, Kevin Owens is getting the heat. They never showed what Owens did to cut him off. They didn't do anything. Just all of a sudden, Kevin Owens is in control. Owens put on a lengthy chin lock and shouted Chinlock City, which led to the obvious chant from the crowd. Maybe Pro Wrestling Tees can come out with that shirt next. Joe did make his comeback and went for the Muscle Buster. Kevin Owens used a headbutt to get out of it, but he did get hit with the corner Uranagi. They fought outside the ring, where Owens posted Samoa Joe and went for the ring apron powerbomb, but Joe fought out. They stood there and punched each other in the face a whole bunch, so the referee jumped out and tried to get them back in the ring. And unfortunately for that referee, he got squashed in between two very large men. And so the referee threw the match out, declared it a no contest. A bunch of referees ran out to split them up. And they all basically went to Joe to pull them off. And so Kevin Owens cockily got back in the ring and challenged Joe to get back in there. And Joe, not being punked out, ran in after him. And we had another pull-apart brawl. This time, they must have had a dozen security people run in. So you have all these people there, just unsuccessfully, I might add, pulling apart these two violent men who are trying to get at each other. Finally, Kevin Owens decided, I'm going to fight you again one day, and just ducked out, took the title, and left. And that's how the show ended. This is definitely a different NXT main event than we're used to, and different is sometimes really, really good, and this is one of it. So that does it for this week's show. I would go out of my way to watch the video package and the Joe match. I would go out of my way to avoid the Divas match, unless you just want to see just how bad that one was. But that does it for this week. Thank you again for listening. Stay tuned, and we'll see what happens next week as we're on the road to Finn Balor's title victory July 4th.
You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.